welcome to another episode of War Hero to Superhero, helping military veterans and first responders transform their lives from the prayer room to the boardroom. We are in the superhero battle room when we are interviewing people because we break the nuts and bolts, either interviewing our military veteran first responder brethren or our patriots that are serving our community. This time we have one of our few and fellow patriots that come into our interview. His name is Eric, and he started serving the country by serving our community. And he also helps us unlock our potential. So I'm going to bring him on the stage, and he's going to share why and how he goes over and supports us in our transformation. So I'm going to bring him to the stage. Hey, Eric, do I have you?
You do. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. So I get very few patriots that come on the show, and are very much thankful for that, for the few that will come on. And we always would love to have more, but yeah, very few come on our show. So we love when patriots step up and say, hey, I want to serve the community. I want to uplift the community. So what inspired you to actually serve our community? Because if you never served, a lot of people, civilians, they kind of forget where we're at unless it's like the 4th of July, Memorial Day, and Veterans Day.
Well, yeah, and I don't come from a military family. I did have an uncle that did serve, but really nobody in my family served. But that doesn't mean that I don't appreciate all of the work and effort and the actions that everyone in the military does do to serve all of us, because we wouldn't have the great country that we have without all of our veterans and people who are actively serving today. And then also all of the first responders. I mean, the quality of life would not be there without all of them.
And that's a good thing to hear, because a lot of times we only get remembered when there's a war, when there's chaos, or something that's in the news. So very thankful for the patriots that go over and remember.
Well, it's the fact that when we're not in a war, it's because we have the great military people serving us that we're not in wars. So all hands out to them. I mean, I so appreciate the community, and everything that I do out, as I guess you would say a patriot, is wherever I can help out. So, all of my charitable donations are to military causes, whether it's the Wounded Warriors Project, the Paralyzed Veterans of America, the Tunnel to Towers organization, all of those types of organizations. I gladly give my contributions, and where I can serve in other ways or provide services in other ways to help out, I do that too.
And that's really cool to go over and hear, because a lot of nonprofits really struggle, and at least most of the nonprofits I meet, either directly military veteran affiliated or first responder, or it's like a family member. So it's really cool to hear that you're going out and supporting those places. So what made you pivot to start serving us? Was it from a young age, or did it happen like in your 20s and 30s? Was there a specific event that made you start serving us, not just personally, but also fiscally and professionally?
I think it's a variety of different things over the years. When early on in my career, I had the opportunity to work in Washington, D.C. I worked for ABC News, and I got there after working. I went to college in Des Moines, Iowa, at Drake University, and as we all know, that the presidential campaigns all originate pretty much in Iowa. And I had developed a relationship with ABC News there for the Iowa caucus coverage. And when I did that, I was working first for the lieutenant governor of Iowa. And then I worked on John Glenn's presidential campaign in 1984. And he was just a very unique individual. It was one of the things that's really important to my personal brand is honesty, integrity, ethics. And quite frankly, that's every day it's harder and harder to find that value instilled in a lot of people. But if you're going to gravitate to any community, the community that you're going to find that more than anywhere else is among our military veterans. And so I gravitate to those people who share my values. And so it started out with building a relationship with John Glenn. Then I was offered a job in Washington, D.C., and I got to work with a lot of different people in the government, of which many of them obviously are either current or past veterans. And then when I started moving out into the rest of the world outside of Washington, D.C., again, I struggled finding people to work with that had the same value system that I did. So I think that's how I gravitated to certain people. Then when it came time to giving back, you know, everybody needs a helping hand sometime in their life. And I want to help people who are going to, number one, appreciate it more, but also will put in the time and have the ethics to succeed in whatever it is that they need to succeed in. And they want to learn. And so that's where I can do the most, is people who are interested in starting a business, who need to, maybe they have a particular skill and they want to turn it into a business, elevate their business, succeed in their business. That's where I can help out. And so that's kind of where I chose to put my energy.
And that's really cool, because one of the values, at least in the Air Force, is integrity first. So I heard that in your conversation. The Army talks about honor and commitment and loyalty and things of that nature. So I kept hearing those words again and again as you were talking about. I was thinking about the different branches on what their values and their ethos and their pathos and all those types of things. And even in 2024, even with the blending of 5 generations, we still scream those values, very much so. So it's very good that we're doing that as a community, and that you see that as a community, and that we can go over and work together as a community together. It's very interesting you worked in Washington, D.C. You must have had a lot of pressure over there in that particular world. And now this is going to pivot more to your brand and about what you go over and do. What secret fuel when the pressure and the tough time comes? I would think DC would probably the most amount of pressure in tough times, but maybe it was something else that you want to give an example.
Well, when you talk about tough times, so a lot of people will talk to me about my own personal resilience. I was working up until 2014 when I got sick, and I got stage 3C colorectal cancer. It was so bad that I had to drop out of the working world. Had surgery, ended up in a coma. After coma, I ended up with sepsis. And then that gave me stage 4 kidney disease, and I wasn't able to do a thing. But everyone would always point and look, when they would talk to me, they'd say, well, gee, you seem to be rather happy. And how do you do it? And it's like, you can't, there's always going to be things in life that are going to be roadblocks. Everybody has roadblocks along the way, and you can either play the victim or you can rise above it. And I was always taught, whether it was something from my mother or father, to rise above it. But I'm able to just not dwell on it. And I think that's the most important thing for me, was not dwell on any of the things that set me back, or any of the difficulties or the people that I encounter that are difficult. We're all going to have that. And again, you can either make it affect you on a day-to-day basis, or you can rise above it. And I chose to rise above it. And that's the general approach that I take.
I think that's really cool, because we get so caught up into our past, and that can go over and drive us to not have a good present and also have a potential bad future. So you're literally just focusing on the present and how to have a better future, so those tough times are not as tough. Because if we just look at the moment, we can do, oh, woe is me. If we look at our past, we're like Eeyore, and we're just kicking ourselves in the pants and we don't have our tail. And then, but the best part is saying, like, I know my present and I know my future. And it sounds like you have a very strong identity, it personally and also professionally, because Megafluence, I think, is a great name, just by the way. And we just met. So people think like, hey, I know him for a long time. Like, we literally, people book on my show, I do a pre-brief, and we usually go live within like 15 minutes. So I very much appreciate the brand. And it sounds like going through all that and more, man, you take my ailments and make them simple. I'm like, wow. And then you just still have that positive, upbeat attitude. So with that, as we're finalizing and closing a little bit, and then we're going to get more into the specifically about your Megafluence brand. We'll give you like a few minutes on that. What about superhero tactics? Either prior clients you worked with, it could be John Glenn, it could be really big clients, small clients, or maybe even yourself. like what tactics would you give either to your past self or to your clients to take them from a surviving mode, which is like looking at the past and just sticking to it, or just allowing the present to destroy them, so they can have a better future and thrive?
I think the most important, and I think if I said this to some people, they would kind of maybe laugh a little bit. I think one of the most important tactics you can have is simply listening. People have a story to tell, and it doesn't matter whether it's a personal story, something that is affecting them, something that's affecting their mindset and how they approach things on a day-to-day basis. And sometimes it's the mindset that is their roadblock to achieving whatever it is that they certainly can achieve. Sometimes it's something in their business, and you have to be willing to ask a lot of questions, to do a lot of probing, and then to just sit back and listen. And if you can process that information, you can often come up with the right answer. I don't care what level you are in life or in business, everybody needs a coach. Richard Branson, who is the founder of Virgin Atlantic or Virgin, the Virgin companies, he has a coach. Tony Robbins, he has a coach. Bill Gates has a coach. Elon Musk has a coach. They just are able to afford very expensive coaches and maybe a lot more of them. But the great beauty of a coach is that they can see things that you as an individual can't see. I'm certainly not perfect. I make mistakes all the time, but I'm not necessarily aware of my mistakes because I'm too close to them. And I need a third party to look at it, talk to me, ask me questions, analyze my answers, listen to my answers, analyze them, and then help put me into the right direction. And so really that I think is the most important tactic, is just simply asking questions and listening to the answers and then processing it.
I think that's the thing that we've lost a lot of time. We're very much a scroller generation. So hopefully as these clips go out here and they scroll on ours, that they come back to this episode and actually listen and absorb that wisdom, because sometimes we need more than 90 seconds. A great quote can go over and inspire, but a great coach can inspire for a lifetime. And that's what it sounds like that you do at Megafluence. So the last part of this show is yours to tell us what megafluence is. We're going to go pop that link in the ticker so people can be bombarded by that. And you can close us out with maybe a quote to go over and end the show. And I want to thank you for going over and joining. And just, it might be a short episode, but it's a very thought-provoking episode. I know I'm going to be thinking about this for a while. So the floor is yours to talk more about what you go over and do, and then close us out with maybe one of those beautiful quotes that you made or learned about.
Well, so I'm going to go just briefly back to the superhero tactics, and that is when you're dealing with computers, and I deal a lot with automation and AI. Whenever you're dealing with something that you're looking at a screen, I tell this to everybody I deal with, and that is read the screen. It's amazing how many people get lost in whatever they're doing just because they're not aware of their environment. They don't observe what's right there in front of them. So that's really important. What megafluence is all about, basically we say that there's 3 truths in life: death, taxes, and you will be Googled. So when you are Googled, are you just another search result, or are you going to have a presence that's going to make people want to know, like, and trust you? Or do you build that credibility and authority in whatever it is that you do or excel at? And so what we do is we show people how to elevate their presence, to elevate their influence, and ultimately achieve mega influence. So we're designed to help anyone achieve whatever it is that they do, achieve market leadership. If you're a plumber, what sets you apart from everyone else so that you are the number one plumber in your market, or the number one electrician or roofer, or even if you're working within an organization, how do you rise within the ranks? You have to have some level of authority and influence over the people that you work with. Obviously, in the military, the people who are often there's 2 types of people that are going to get promoted: those who are absolutely the best at what they do, and then there's, unfortunately, this is just an organizational or bureaucratic problem. There's going to be some people who just know how to, kiss the right butt to elevate, and eventually they get their comeuppance. But we look at the people that really want to be looked at as the leaders in whatever it is that they want to do, and how do they promote their own presence? How do they communicate their presence so that people will want to do business with them? And so that's what we focus on. We do a lot of things with personal branding, what to post, where to post in social media. One of the things that a lot of people aren't aware of is when you do Google a person, again, most people are going to just be a search result. But those who have credibility and authority, they ultimately are able to earn what's called a knowledge panel. And that's something that Google gives to people based on what their contributions are to the community. It's not easy to necessarily get. I actually don't have it yet, but I do have several clients that have knowledge panels because we've helped them raise their personal brand to that level. I spend a lot of time with clients, and so I actually spend more time on them than I do on myself. So I'm actually working on myself right now to elevate my personal brand so I can get a knowledge panel. But a knowledge panel, again, is something that you earn. And once you earn it, it just elevates your presence when somebody looks you up and says, who is this person? And that's what we focus on.